Hey folks, it is October the 7th, and we're going over the last half of chapter 18. And our topics for today are Athenians, plays, and playwriters, historians, Athenian homes, their clothing, and their education. So I'm giving the kids in class a few minutes to discuss these terms together. So y'all go ahead and start talking, and then we're going to get our notes for the day and all that good stuff. We are going to have a test next week. More information to come on that. So I'm going to give y'all the general areas on Friday, and we'll have a review on Tuesday. Hey, who wants lunch today?
What? It's tacos.
It's tacos.
Me.
Are y'all all the same lunch again today?
Who's A lunch?
A lunch. You want tacos? Raise your hand.
Two.
1, 2, 3.
You have A or B? A. Okay.
So it's 3 A's. All
One
right.
B?
1 B.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. So, folks, go ahead and discuss these terms.
I am
Around
already
to me.
writing them down.
Good job. Good job.
And then you want us to write the writers too?
Yeah, we'll get that together though. We can get that as a class.
Wait, was Sophocles considered one?
Yeah.
Because there's like,
Yeah, because you see here, I think he was a
Aeschylus or something like that.
yeah. So they're both Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides,
Euripides and
Aristophanes, or
Yeah.
Aristophanes. I don't know. It's one of the two. I never
do we
learned.
do Herodotus and Thucydides too?
Yeah, it's the historians.
That's a lot of them. Oh wait, so we wouldn't write those for writers, or we would?
They would be historians, those last two. But hey, a lot of your information, like the detailed information for these guys, is going to come from the Quizlet terms that I gave you. So I put these names up on Quizlet for the chapter, and there's more information there about them there. So you're strongly encouraged to go there for more information because it could end up on a quiz, and it could help you out on the test if you know these terms and a bit about them and you put it in your essays. We all like taking care of our essays.
Yeah.
Right, Jose?
Yeah.
Hey, can you get back to your seat, buddy? You're like kneeling around there like Gollum or something. So, Timothy, you okay? Timothy's okay? All right.
Not bad. Yeah.
Not good. That's
Not yet,
good.
but
I'm saving that for later.
Full stop.
Way off.
Okay. Hey, all right, kids. So let me show you my images for the date first, and then we'll move on from there. All right. So once again, remember we had the Odeum. This is the Greek theater in Athens, and so this is where those plays were held. And like we told you, they are known as like the forefathers of theater, right? So you can think of them as like the great grandpappies of television and Netflix and all that stuff. So this is a double bust. I don't know why they put them together. Of the two first historians, you have Herodotus, the father of history, on the left, who wrote a book called The Histories. I think I see it. And on the right, you have Thucydides, who is a historian, but he's also kind of known as the father of political science in a way, because he's really, he spent a lot of his time writing down political speeches and political actions while not writing too much about, say, the details of battles or going into some of the exaggerated stories that Herodotus would do in his histories. Because like I said, Herodotus would write a lot about mythical creatures and stuff like that in his history, whereas Thucydides was more like, hey, I interviewed people, this is what they said, this is why they went to war, this is why I think people did the things they did, right? So it's more like, in many ways, people are going to mimic Thucydides as historians more than Herodotus later on. So, like we said, this time of peace and prosperity, this 15-year period where Pericles is basically in charge of Athens and they're not at war, we call this the Golden Age of Athens. And so this is a time period of a lot of building. As your book said, it's true. The Athenian citizenry did fairly well. Athens was making a lot of money off of what it won from Persia. its trade success, and most importantly, from what it
Slavery.
took from the Delian League. And yeah,
No way, there was like a whole bunch of crap.
there was. See, yeah, that's the
Wine,
thing.
glass, skins, saltfish, spices, things.
So if you recall, early Athens, the lower class was dirt poor, and they were being run over by the nobles. Now Athens is a democracy.
Didn't they say that there was like not very much poverty in them?
Yes, because now a lot of the citizenry is being paid by the government, and the government's taking its money from other people. So a lot of the work was done by, slave labor, which for the most part was a lot of times slaves were people who were caught in warfare. Like if you were the loser in a battle, you would be taken in as a slave. So not only did you lose and probably get wounded, but now you're a servant for life for somebody else. Go ahead. Say again.
Lose.
Yeah, don't lose, right? Yeah, so like that's a big deal. Now, not all slavery was like chattel being worked to death slavery like you have in like the American South or the Caribbean later on. It wasn't race based so much back then. Slaves in Greco-Roman times could become very rich and powerful sometimes. So they didn't quite have the same restrictions that you're going to see later on in the Americas, but it still wasn't something you necessarily wanted. So this is the Athenian treasury. So think of it as like their bank for their city, where they took all that money that was supposed to be for the Delian League and they moved it to Athens, which helped show that it was now the Athenian Empire. So it was like this big armada that was essentially, it was keeping the peace, but at the same time, it was making their friends become their servants. They were taking their money, and if they didn't pay up or if they wanted out, we'll see later, they'll destroy them. So they'll destroy their own friends for trying to back out. So it's going to have some wickedness to it. So here we have Athenian clothing. I know it's Beleri, but this is the male chiton. Here, this is their shirt, which would hang down. Here's the stola. This is what women wore, which is, of course, longer. It would often have long sleeves. They had their cloaks as well for when it got cold.
And then little boys ran around naked.
Just like a lot of the world, right? You got a lot of the third world, and you got little kids just running around without clothes on. Part of it is kids mess up clothes when clothing is expensive. It's hard to keep up with. Another thing too, especially when they're little, it's kind of hard to get them to go to the bathroom where you want them to. So, especially before they had like diapers or good ability to clean them, they just kind of mess all over themselves. So they just kind of let them go on the floor and then clean it up. You still find that in parts of the world today. Certain parts of Asia and Africa, they just let the kids run around naked when they're toddlers. They gotta go to the bathroom, just go on the floor. So, and you find it easier to hose off. To a Greek person, like a man was supposed to wear a skirt. It was seen as unmanly to wear pants. That was something only barbarians did, right? That's something we're going to inherit later on from Germanic people, like the idea of wearing pants. So that idea is going to come later. Here we have a pretty well off Greek home. See, it has like an entryway with a courtyard, which is kind of like there in the middle. It's going to be very similar in some ways to Roman homes. We'll see later. And each room had its place, which is dining room, storage place, kitchen, bedrooms. You see are upstairs. Husbands and wives usually had separate bedrooms in Greek culture. They even ate in separate rooms too. So they pretty much, husband and wives kind of like, they would visit each other, but they didn't necessarily like live with each other, right? So
Why?
I think,
Because they were forced to be married.
yeah, I mean, like the idea of romance and stuff like that to the Greeks and marriage didn't always connect. Sometimes marriages were
Not
arranged. But another thing too, this isn't true probably necessarily for all Greeks, but Athenians in particular, in Athens, they didn't really look highly upon women, right? Like they didn't quite see them as being like equal to men, even like as far as like being a person. So that probably had something to do with it, really. Not all Greeks were quite there, though. I mean, you wouldn't say that anywhere in Greece women had the same rights as men. There's always a distinction and a separation. And we start seeing more formal education for boys in Athens during this time. And so you have these guys, these teachers called pedagogues, who would go around and they would teach boys how to write, speak, memorize things that they thought were important, geometry. They would teach them somewhat the arts, especially music, singing, and dancing, athletics, fighting, stuff like that. Later on, actually also during this time, because Athens is a democracy, everybody gets a chance to vote. Everything is done by voting.
The kids get to vote?
No, not till they were 18, 19. But they were taught how to speak publicly because everyone's their own lawyer. And so they had these guys come in called the sophists. And the sophists will teach public speaking. And they're also going to teach logical argument, not morality, but how to win people over to your side through making a good point. And so they're going to go around, they're going to teach young men public speaking. So if they ever have to get people to vote the way they want to, either sue somebody, get out of a crime, or make a law, they're much more likely to get it passed. So remember I said with a democracy, it's about celebrity status. It's about convincing people to do what you want. So they're trying to learn some of that. Let's get that out later. Okay, so
That's an it. Fine.
right. You're absolutely correct.
Whatever.
All right, so speaking of Athenian plays and playwriters, so we don't necessarily have to get all the names for these guys, but we can if you want to. So what were the type of plays that early Greeks really liked at first? What were they like? Yeah.
Odium, tragedies, and comedies.
Yeah. So early on, they enjoy, what's an odium?
It's a theater and it's TV.
Okay, yeah. So comedies and tragedies. Now, tragedies are going to come first. And they're going to be super serious and formal. They're going to be kind of like really artificial. I mean, like, if you ever watch a play like the ancient Greeks did, it's really kind of freaky. They're like wearing this weird mask, and they'll like come up and they'll say something, and then they'll have the chorus, like this group of people come up and just start chanting something.
It's like a concrete man.
Yeah. It's like plaster concrete. It's like weird. Like to us, if we watch it, you just want to change the channel. So comedies and tragedies.
Not gonna do the cold.
Yeah, very formal
Human.
and unlifelike. If that's really a word.
What?
Unlifelike at
Just
first.
put not like.
Not lifelike. Okay, you can do that
Same thing.
at first. So at first it was like more for like the educated people, like the rich, the nobility. But then it becomes something more everyday people can get and enjoy. More lifelike.
How do we want the Athenian writers?
We don't have to have their names here so much now. We might want to get them down later. But here's one thing I do want to know. How many times per year did they have the plays?
So,
Two.
and then I had festival things, didn't they?
Yeah.
For 6 months, and I had,
Plays at festivals.
and then I had like 3 poets, didn't they?
Unlifelike.
Yeah.
With 4 plays each, and then they voted. At the end of it, so most of the time it was I think military.
3 poets, 4 plays each. You're good. 1 winner. So
Yeah, it said 13 times it was voted to a man who was a soldier.
Okay. Yeah.
Bill was
So
the writer.
we see it's like democracy once again. They're applying it to everything, even who's like the best show, right? Yes.
Not the end of it. The first stuff.
What? What are you talking about?
I don't see it. Where?
Second line right after first.
What are you talking about?
Then, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I saw V and I was like, it's okay. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, as far as like their names, like again, that's a Quizlet. So that will come up in your quizzes.
I wrote it down.
But it's cool that you wrote it down. That's actually I ran out of room on the board.
I wrote, what do we write with this historians? Just the names or?
Well, here let's go with this. So who was the first one? Herodotus. So yeah, since there's only two, we'll go with them. Herodotus. What was Herodotus's histories like?
They were detailed, very detailed.
Yeah, very detailed. And like, I got the book somewhere. It's like thick. It's like that thick. It's like a dictionary.
Really are.
Very detailed. Anything else? And he wrote.
Didn't he like endorse his like people,
Endorse what?
his people? Like,
Yeah. Always from a pro Athenian point of view. Yeah, so he was like, hey, my people are the best people. But he was interested in other people as well. Like he loved, like the very beginning of the histories is just about the Egyptians. And he was writing crazy things about like he saw in Egypt, like about how or heard in Egypt. Like he talked about the weird things pharaohs would do, or about how like the first pharaoh managed to conquer and unite both ends of the Nile River. And then like after he was victorious, he's sailing down the Nile River and he looks down in the water and then a hippopotamus comes up, bites him in half. And like, he's got his legs there on the boat. So,
people.
Now we need to do
Long
this.
live the new king
yeah, so they're gonna have a
and
big
walls and boats.
And Thucydides even wanted to be a historian like,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
became one too.
that's
This is
right.
famous. And it said that he wrote like very, like, something about this.
I just spelled his name. It's
Yeah, I have his work that he was famous for is called the Peloponnesian War. And so we're gonna see later, he's gonna be in exile from Athens. They're gonna ostracize him. And while he's ostracized, he's gonna go to Sparta and Athenians who are kicked out and ask what's going on during the war. So so he's going to write more of a unbiased history war between Sparta and Athens. Yeah, so, and this is what historians are supposed to try to do. You get the facts and you write down the facts, and you're not supposed to get your opinion in, right? Aren't like journalists supposed to do that too?
no. Well, technically speaking,
A
yeah,
journalist is supposed to, but they don't. Yeah, but the thing is,
but they don't.
we're
Yeah,
imperfect creatures. Subjectivity is it's a human thing. You
We
can't
live
get
in
rid of it.
society.
Wait, what were Athenian homes made out of? What?
Stones, marble, and stuff. They worked with what they had. They didn't have a lot of trees. The trees that they had were very expensive. So
Just grow more trees then.
that's hard. The climate doesn't really help out with that.
Trade for trees.
Greece is very rocky. Yeah, it's rocky soil. It's hard for
The
tall trees to gain root.
They conquered the Mediterranean. Just trade trees.
Different parts of Mediterranean.
They look like hearts.
They do. But part of it so that when you're really far away, you can kind of see the expressions and stuff. All right, so yeah, Athenian homes, like y'all said earlier, they're simple, made of stone.
Look at like the paint stuff, look at it, that's probably the language.
Yeah. So, what else did they have in the house though?
Not expensive furniture, like just plain furniture.
The house you showed us is kind of large.
Yeah, plain furniture. Yeah, large for ours. Yeah, I mean. Yeah, so if it was, yeah, it's large too, because remember, if we talked about the early days, they had to have places for storage, stuff like that. And a well-off Athenian family would also have their servants live there. Of course, their kids, and probably their grandparents living there if they're still around.
If they're still around.
Well, yeah, life expectancy wasn't as high back then as it is today, even though these people lived fairly healthy life compared to maybe many other ancient people. During this time period,
If I lived healthier than us,
maybe in some ways. Anything else about their homes?
no,
No. Sure.
I'm sure.
Okay. All right. So,
Clothing, didn't you say men had to wear skirts?
yeah. So,
Ancient kilts.
no dance. So that was one thing.
No pants for men or women too?
Anybody? Nobody wore pants. What did they wear instead? Like
Where were pants invented?
what was the name of the Greek word?
I have no idea.
Chitin?
Yeah, chitin. Yeah, chitin.
Titan?
Which is like a long shirt.
How you spell that?
Chiton.
Sure.
Shirt. They also had cloaks. What they wear on their feet? Sandals. That's right.
We're China.
Okay, choppers. And yeah, if it was too sunny and it was like really bright, they also wore keep the sun out on their head. Yeah, hats. Sometimes wide brim hats. They look like broken cowboy hats. And if it was cold, what did they wear?
What did they do to cut their hair back then?
I think they had simple scissors, but I think a lot of times you just got a knife really sharp and you just kind of just went at it with a razor sharp knife.
Yippee!
Cloaks for the cold. Now, we've talked a bit about education before, and of course, we've seen that once again that there's a difference between male and female education in the Greek world. So with the Athenians, let's start out with the girls. So what did the girls do when they were old enough for education?
Go home.
Girls, yeah, go home. And what did they learn?
I like, meet babies and take care of them.
Okay, so yeah, we'll say homemaking.
Wait, so it says girls what?
Girls learn homemaking, and they learn anything else?
Not really.
Nothing.
Cooking?
Cooking and dancing and
Was it like singing or something? I don't know.
yeah, singing. So singing, reading and writing.
And then the guys, didn't they learn boxing and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun.
Boxing. All right, very right. So
So that must have been
Boys.
big back then.
boys had a different experience. Yeah, so boys learn fighting, like you said, but what else?
Philosophy.
Yeah. So some philosophy, like, or at least logic. Anything else? Remember the flute player I showed you?
Oh, yeah. Reading?
Music. Okay, yeah. Music, reading, rhetoric, which is public speaking and with logic, and so on and so forth. So yeah, like geometry,
Well,
dancing, all that stuff. So it was like, and it wasn't dancing just because they were like, wow, we like watching boys dance. The Greeks believed that, and there's some truth to this. If you learn like dancing, it helps with body coordination and general health, right? So that's why like there's some guys like even like kickboxers and stuff like that. They'll take ballet,
yes,
To try to get better. and they'll do it to like try to get better with their body, right? Yeah, because it's hard. It's hard. I mean, I'm not going to do it, you know, but I'm not going to make my son do it. But you know. Picture these fancy notes here.
I'll pick out dog.
All right, folks, that's going to end it for our lecture for today. Next couple of days, we're going to go over chapter 14, and it's a XI5 or V, and talk about that then. All right, see you later. Huh?